Hey everyone, and welcome to your core prep class. Now for today, I have a few different props with me that will be helpful to kind of facilitate some of the movements and engagements that we're creating throughout today's class. So I have a Pilates ball, a light resistance band, and a yoga block. Now some things that I want you to keep in mind as we move through these different exercises is that we are trying to create space at first, trying to get some expansion within the rib cage. Getting that widening, that 360 breath is going to help give the room diaphragm the space to descend down and some movement within the pelvic floor as well. So getting that patterning off at the very beginning is going to be really helpful. So that's where we're going to start. And then from there, we're going to work on that active coordination and engagement of the core, the deeper core coordination there. So we're going to use some of these tools to help facilitate that. So we'll be in a few different positions. I like to think of them as like a baseline engagement so that when we do those bigger, more challenging movements, not to say these aren't challenging in and of themselves because they are, but when those lever arms get a little bit bigger and the challenges, the load gets a little bit stronger, we can come back to these so we can, again, come back to that deeper coordination, that stability that our body needs to get to that further point. But with that, so with those inhales, I want you to think of pulling from the top down. Exhales are from the bottom up so that we can get that support and manage that pressure through the system as we start to build that engagement there. But I'll cue that as we go along. So to get ourselves started, we're going to go ahead and start on our backs, and we'll just start with some breathing to get things off and running. So as you come down onto your backs, let those feet go flat to the ground, knees are bent. If laying on your back in this capacity can be uncomfortable, you're welcome to place a small blanket underneath the backside of your hips so you can have a little bit of a boost there. As you start to settle down onto your spine, resting the hands on the rib cage, so maybe the thumb and pointer finger on the rib cage, and then the rest of the hand, the pinky edge is just resting on the belly. So keeping in mind that inhale from the top down, that exhale from the bottom up. So as you pull that air in, thinking of expanding with that inhale, the ribs widen out to the side, front to back, belly lifts and lengthens, pelvic floor relaxes. And then exhale, low belly settles, belly button settles down, ribs settle down, chest settles. The air is fully expelled out. Inhale, fill up. Top to bottom, pulling that air down and in as low as we can, and then exhale. Let it all go. So continuing to follow the pattern of your breath, trying to make those inhales and exhales as long as you can without force. Just taking note of how far down and into the body you're able to pull that inhale. That'll give you information. And then exhale, we're trying to just make sure, as of right now, our hips are relaxed. You're just letting the body recoil. A few more breaths in. Full breath out, you settle. Now that top down, bottom up progression is going to be helpful for our first exercise here, because we're going to go ahead and grab that Pilates ball and we're going to place that between our thighs. Adjust the feet as you need. The legs are more or less parallel to one another. This is where the back, the blanket behind the back of the hips can be helpful if you feel like you're arched within your back too and you can't quite settle. Having that little bit of support will get you in better, more neutral alignment, and that might feel more accessible to give that ball a squeeze. Hands can rest wherever they feel most helpful, whether it's one hand on top of the other, resting next to each other, whatever comes naturally to you. But on that inhale, fill up, expand. Exhale, slowly start to press that ball together. Feel low belly draw in, ribs draw down. Inhale, fill up, let everything go. Feel that expansion through the front body, through the side of the ribs. Exhale, slowly squeeze that ball. Feel the low belly engage, ribs draw down. Inhale, release, we're going for 1 minute. Exhale, draw it in. Low belly lifts up, ribs draw down. Chest stays relaxed. Inhale, let it go. Doesn't have to be your biggest squeeze, just feeling that engagement kind of initiate that activation. Exhale, start to squeeze. Feel that exhale come up and out of the body from the lowest part of the belly. Ribs come down. Inhale, let it go. Exhale, slowly squeeze. Hip points are kind of pulling toward one another. Low belly lifts, belly button down, ribs draw down. Inhale, let it go. Exhale, gradually squeeze. Follow that exhale, follow that breath out. Feeling that wrapping sensation through the front body. Inhale, let it go. Last one here, exhale. Inhale, release. Beautiful work. You can keep that ball there. Grab hold of that band next. So the reason I didn't do this one first is because I wanted to make sure that we started with that connection, low belly, or exhale from the bottom up. Because this next one we're going to facilitate, my goal is to facilitate expansion of the rib cage, but we are going to follow that exhale with a little squeeze of the rib cage. And I want to make sure that we're not just pushing the pressure down towards the base of our pelvis. So I want that support from the low belly. And if that ball was helpful, keep that there. Otherwise, bring that light resistance band around the lowest, widest part of your rib cage. And then just cross that band into an X. And then grabbing with opposite hands here. Upper arms can relax down onto the mat, okay? So take as much slack as you need to feel a little hug from that resistance band. Again, you are not cinching your waist. You're using this as a guide to give you feedback, okay? Not only to breathe into and expand, but to also facilitate the closing down of the ribs if you find that that is also something that you're working on, okay? So upper arms relax down, chest relax down. So we still want some length within the spine, length within the neck. Still going through this for 1 minute here. Okay, so before we go ahead, let me go ahead and break it down for us. So on the inhale, we're still letting everything relax. You're breathing out and into that band to fill up. And on the exhale, slowly squeeze that ball once more. Low belly lifts, belly button draws down, ribs draw down. Facilitate that draw down of the ribs with a little hug of the band. And I mean little. We are not fighting for our lives by pulling it down really strong. Okay, so here we go for a minute. On that inhale, fill up. Breathe into that band. Exhale. Gradually squeezing that ball, gradually drawing those ribs down. Inhale, breathe out. Out and into the band. Let those those legs relax. Exhale. Squeeze the ball, draw those ribs down. Inhale. Get some slack back into that band. Let your rib cage expand into that feedback. Exhale. Squeeze that ball. Little draw down of the ribs. Inhale. Now, if you're feeling any increased pressure in the pelvis, we take that band out. Beautiful work. Go ahead and release that band and that ball. Now we're going to make our way onto the side. So we're going to come onto our right-hand side to start. Go ahead and grab that block and that ball for this one. The block on its skinniest side, flattest side, I should say, you're going to place that between your thighs. The ball is going to be underneath that top hand. So just create a little pillow for yourself. If you want an actual pillow, slide that underneath your head. But this one's going to be a little combo movement as well. So we'll do a few rounds to just practice with the squeeze of the block, and then we're going to add in the ball. Now, from this perspective, this is really great if we're getting into like side planks and side body work, oblique work. And so we have that block to again involve those inner thighs, and then the ball is going to help with the upper part of the core, okay? So we are following the breath in to relax, let go, really slink through the belly, and then we're following that exhale to find a nice gradual engagement, thinking of scooping from the bottom waist up, so that we're finding that little sandwich from top to bottom, bottom to top here. Follow the exhale so we're not really rapidly increasing that pressure within the abdomen. Okay, so a few breaths just to kind of get coordinated with this side lying block squeeze. So hips are relaxed. We're just using those inner thighs to make this engagement happen. Big inhale, let the belly relax. Pelvic floor relax, low belly relax. Exhale. Gradually squeeze that block. Feel a little lift of the low belly as you exhale. Inhale, let it go. We're not squeezing the bum and we're not using our hip flexors to pull up, okay? Relax through the belly. Exhale, gradual squeeze. Lifting from pubic bone, low belly up to the belly button. Ribs come down just slightly. Inhale, let it go. One more, exhale. Inhale, let it go. Relax, reset, let the belly relax. So now when we incorporate the press of the ball, we're not turning our chest down towards the floor. We're still staying nice and open, but we're pressing that palm down into the ball, down into the ground, and feeling that scoop, that lift of the bottom side waist, getting that core to wrap and engage here. What's happening within the lower body all stays the same. Inner thighs trying to isolate that space, trying not to clench the glutes or shove the hips forward. On the inhale, we relax, let go. Start from the bottom to the top. Exhale, gradually squeeze that block. Feel the lift of the low belly and then press that palm down into the ball. Feel that bottom rib cage engage and scoop up. Inhale, let it go. Let that belly fully relax. Exhale. We're here for 1 minute. Inhale, let go. Exhale, squeeze that block. Feel the lift of the low belly, that press into the ball, scoops and lifts that bottom waist. Inhale, let it go. Exhale, gentle squeeze of that block, lift of the low belly. Press down into that ball, keeping that chest open. Inhale. Halfway there, exhale. Squeeze that block, lift that low belly, press down into that ball. Inhale, let it go. Now, if that feels like it's getting too much into the wrist, you can punch or just try to balance out where you're pushing that palm down and into that ball. Inhale, let it go. Exhale, squeezing, lifting from the bottom up, following that exhale. Inhale, let it go. Beautiful work. Now we already kind of know what it is we're looking for, working towards, so we're just going to flip sides and get right into it. Okay, so get yourself set. Legs are stacked, pillow for the head, trying to keep the spine as neutral as we can. But on that inhale, let that belly relax. Exhale, minutes up. Or minute started, start to squeeze, top thigh to bottom thigh, lift through the low belly, press that ball at the very end. Inhale, let it go. Exhale, gentle squeeze. Inhale, let it go. Exhale, squeeze that block, lift through the low belly. So a little pull of that pubic bone up to meet the belly button, ribs match that effort down. Inhale, let it go. Exhale. Inhale, lower. Relax, lengthen, let it go. Full reset on that exhale. We engage. Little squeeze of that block, lift of that low belly. Draw it down of the ribs. And then inhale, let it go. Wonderful. Now we're going to make our way into a hands and knees position. So depending on what you prefer, on our backs we were using the Pilates ball to squeeze. Obviously the block is not as comfortable. So pick your preference for when we come up and into that hands and knees position. So we're going to place that ball between the thighs. So hands are underneath the shoulders, hips are over top the knees. From crown of head to tip of tailbone, we're trying to find that nice neutral spine. So from this starting point, keeping the spine where it is, can you relax and let go through the belly? So let that front body relax, let go of that engagement, but trying to keep that same length within your spine. Tough to do. Just kind of coming back into your breath and seeing if you're able to let it go. Because we want to bring the core through a range of motion as we do this. We're not, in none of these exercises are we changing the orientation of the spine, but I still want to be able to access that point of relaxation for the core. We spend our whole day drawing our core in, holding our front body in. So giving our bodies the opportunity to really let go and feel what that feels like before we find that nice cohesive engagement. I think that's super important to try to access. So starting from this more lengthened position, trying to balance that length within the front body to that length within the spine. So inhale. So you might need to bring, for the engagement portion of this, you might feel more comfortable having the thighs a little closer together. So you might be squeezing the block just a little bit, or squeezing that ball just a little bit before we get started. But on that inhale, fill that belly up, feel the rib cage expand. Exhale, bottom up, squeeze that ball. Feel that lift from pubic bone up to low belly, belly button, up and through the ribs. Inhale, let it go. Exhale, gradually squeeze that ball. Lift that low belly. Feel that wrap all the way up to the rib cage. Maybe a little push to the heels of the hands. Inhale, let it go. Exhale, draw it in. Try not to curve our spine either when we feel that gradual engagement as well. Inhale, let it go. Exhale, gradual squeeze. Two more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, let it go. Breathing all the way down to the base of the pelvis between the butt bones. Exhale, draw it in. Inhale, let it go. Now, when we were starting to get the patterning here and get a little bit more strength within that activation, you might have already noticed that inherently you were pushing a little bit stronger into that upper body to try to help facilitate that engagement. So something that I like to add in as well is a band around the rib cage to do those two things that it was doing before when we were down on our back. So we were utilizing that band to expand, breathe into, and then on the exhale, we're giving it a little bit of a hug. So trying to facilitate that draw down of the rib cage. So for this one, we're still using it to find that expansion within the back body, but now we're going to try to push, get a little bit more of a pushing sensation through the upper body to facilitate that engagement, kind of like we did on our sides. Okay, so it all kind of comes together one way or another. So you're going to take that band, you're going to lace it underneath the palm, extend your arms out, wrap your arms around you, so give yourself a big old hug. Okay, so it's going to be around the widest part of your rib cage, around your bra line. Okay, so when we have that band, you're going to push a little stronger into the palms of the hands without cat spine, without rounding the spine. I want you to feel your shoulder blades widen and your upper back push into that band a little bit stronger, okay? Because when we find that active exhale, you're going to feel that strong push. Upper back into the band, ground in our hands into the ground, okay? So find that neutral tabletop to start. Inhale. Feel the back of the rib cage expand into that band, and then exhale, slowly start to squeeze that ball. Push the ground away. Inhale, let it go. Staying soft within the glutes. Exhale. A few more rounds here. Keeping that spine nice and long. Inhale, let it go. Expand the back body into that band. Push the ground away as you squeeze that ball in. Last one, inhale. Expand through the back of the rib cage, let that belly fall, and then exhale. Squeeze that ball, lift low belly, press the ground away, keep that spine nice and long. Inhale, let it go. Beautiful work. Now, throughout this video, if you noticed that certain areas of the core were working a little bit harder than the others, or you felt like you were clenching your butt cheeks or doing something else within your body to help compensate and make these movements happen, number one, talk to your pelvic floor physical therapist, and hopefully some hands-on and one-on-one cueing can be really helpful to navigate those and find some balance within the core. And then two, you can play with taking or replacing some of these props. So again, if that band laying on the ground just didn't do it for you, just use your hands as feedback. Those are some modifications that you can do as well. But we want to make sure that we're getting balanced support and effort from that core. So if you're getting any kind of symptoms, talk to your pelvic floor physical therapist and make the adjustments that are appropriate for you. Thank you all so much for following along, and hope to see you in the next video.